So, Angel, don't you think that this is a result? I mean, because I think the Republicans are just as shady, if you will, in many ways. This is really a result of a voting bloc, blindly following, and no matter what you do, you can't shake them. The Democrats, they just assume African Americans are going to not vote for the Republican. So, what do they have to do?
Well, go ahead.
Well, I used to be a Democrat, so I know where they're coming from, and you're born into this culture, and you think that the government is supposed to take care of you, and it's not just African Americans. It's spread throughout this entire country. Everyone thinks that they're entitled to some sort of living from the government, so we need to get rid of that sort of thinking. But that comes from the government stepping in and saying, hey, we will take care of you. Everyone deserves a living, as opposed to saying that everyone has the right to earn his living. So if we shift the focus to that and don't provide, if you provide someone with an outlet or with a
an escape hatch.
An escape hatch. They will take it. It's in human nature to do as little as possible to get the greatest results.
One of my favorite quotes from a founding father is from Ben Franklin. The best way to help people out of poverty is to make them uncomfortable in their poverty.
Exactly. It's like a domesticated animal never learns to hunt because you give it food all the time. But we never learn to live and to earn the things that we want because they're given to us.
Got to take a break. Breaking the cycle of poverty and how it's being exploited by Acorn. Next. Welcome back to our special program, Time to Be Heard, Content of Character. Looking at groups like Acorn now, they claim to help people, but do they? They claim to help labor. When it comes to unions, they're one and the same. Are they helping just themselves in reality? Charles Payne is here. Kevin Jackson, author of The Big Black Lie. Marcel Reed, Acorn 8 chair, and one of the bravest people that I know. Jerome Hudson is a retail sales consultant. So let me start with you, Marcel. It's always good to see you. You were somebody who was inside of Acorn. You demanded, let me open up the books here because something's not right, and they've come after you and everybody, everybody like you, everybody who's wanting to open up Acorn. Tell in a nutshell the game that Acorn plays.
I came to Acorn not in the traditional method. I read a book. It was listed as a resource in the back of the book, and I joined Acorn. I always tell this story because I want people to understand that poverty sometimes is not a result of not having enough education. Oftentimes, poverty is the result of not knowing where to apply that education. So Acorn was a way that I thought that I could give back. I majored in sociology. I never had a chance to use it. And Acorn was my way to give back and to see if we could actually do something socially, structurally, to change the poverty I've been seeing. I joined it. I believed in the mission that there was more strength in numbers than alone. I think all of us know that, having been alone at some point. And what happened with Acorn was that I saw that they had a vested interest in people being unempowered. I'm not sure if that's a word, but they certainly did not have a...
Why? What gave them the... What was their interest in making sure that people remained down?
Because it's much easier to tell people what they should think than to have people that are independent enough to think for themselves.
So who's on the top gaining the power? Where does that lead them, in your view?
I think that the power at the top of Acorn is because they want to restructure actually the way we think here in this country.
So how do we, when we have a system where, I'm reading a book on the Romans in England, and when the Romans marched in and tried to take over England, and one of the things that they did was give gifts, break people up into groups, give gifts, and try to get into the communities and enslave people that way. it's really, I mean, it's a lot of the ways it's the acorn structure. How do we break that? How do we go in and change that? I mean, you got no gifts. What you have is people coming into the community and saying, boy, life is going to get tough for you because we got to shut all these taps off.
Well, in my opinion, what we've got to do is we've got to really start playing hardball. The black community has been soft-pedaled for so long, and everybody's afraid to attack the issue. I think the bigger issue, I mean, you've got a group of black conservatives here. We've all got our scars from trying to go in and do this. What we've got to do is get people like you and the rest of the conservatives to stop being so politically correct in dealing with the black community and confronting these issues head on and saying, I'm not a racist, I'm not an elitist, and unlike the government, I really am here to help, and I'm going to help you by giving you an opportunity. I'm not going to give you a handout.
But you do, we got to wrap, and I want to come back with this question. When you're somebody in my position or anybody else's position, you're taking the arrows just like you guys take. I don't know if, I think you can now. I don't know a year ago if you could survive a coordinated attack saying, you're a racist for that. And I believe that's where we're headed yet again. And Jerome, I'd like you to go there here in a second when we come back. As always, we are running out of time. We're back to our special time to be heard content and character, how we break the cycle of poverty in the African-American community and how we stop the cycle now that is spreading like a cancer throughout our society. We go to Jerome here. Jerome.
Abortion. Abortion has killed more black babies than Robert Byrd and the KKK ever imagined. But would you hear or have President Obama or Eric Holder have a rally outside of an abortion clinic? No, because unfortunately, our president doesn't even want his own daughters punished with the baby. And so we can't look to most of black leadership to lift the black community out of this. We need to look to Martin Luther King, a man that fought against the moral authority in the 50s and 60s that was racist. It was largely Democrat Party mandated racism, and this man marched, with him and others and freed. It was a cultural shift because we are at war. We are at war right now.
We're really at a war, Kevin, with a war of words, and I think those words are going to start losing. I think they already have. They have no meaning anymore.
Well, the problem is that we've got 95% of blacks voting monolithically, and they want to get the other 5%. Ask yourself that question: what is the need to get people like us wrangled in on this other side? Why can't we, separate our vote?
How has that manifested itself with them trying to get?
Well, the problem is that it's become a cancer because once they've gotten us wrangled in, we've talked about illegal immigration. What's the next step? Let's get these people monolithically voting this way and thinking this way. And then the cultural shift is let's become a socialist nation, and nobody's willing to work for anything.
You were saying, Marcel, about that it's difficult to have any kind of monolithic thinking, because we were talking during the break that you could switch over here or over here. We've seen that both the Republicans and the Democrats, they're about power.
That's right.
And so it doesn't matter which direction you go. It has to be empowering the individual, and it's good to be working together and being a group, but you must still be an individual that thinks for themselves.
Very quickly, I want to say that I hear this now all the time. Somehow, if we were not Democrats and we were Republican, things would be different. But I come from Republicans who turned Democrat. Things were bad for them when they were Republicans, and things were bad for them when they were Democrats.
As an individual.
But things are better for you when you think for yourself.
Right. Absolutely. That's what it
and it's a thinking for yourself that makes a difference. It really does not have a party assignment.
When you give your soul away and your mind away and your brain away, and Martin Luther King gave a speech in Riverside Church April 4th, 1967, 1 year before he was killed, assassinated, and it was against the war. He said that we have taken away their most prestigious, their most cherished things of these people, the family and the village. Think about this. The way we have gone about our lives, we have let big government, liberal thinking take away our most cherished things as a race. our family, and our village. And it's time for us to get it back.
Back in just a second. Just a couple of final thoughts. We were just sitting here and chatting in the break, and Charles said, you know, tell the story about keeping it real.
No, I mean, the idea that we all should think the same, and we heap that upon ourselves. We talk about content and character, but black people put pressure on each other. Hey, you're not keeping it real. Like, we all have to think the same way.
And it's funny because the thing I try to teach my children is don't think like anyone else.
Right.
Think outside of the box. America, we'll see you again from New York. Good night.